Hello, hello, and welcome to Unfiltered Eat Better, Think Better series. This is where we get real about our emotions, mindset, connection to food, and healing, and what it really takes to break free and feel good in your body and life again. I'm usually your host, Jaini Shah, and in this series, I usually sit down with everyday people who face challenges with their health, body, their mind, their confidence, or long held beliefs that have held them back and found powerful ways to rise and grow through it all. These are all real stories, no filters, no fluff, just raw conversations about what they struggled with, what actually helped people, and how they created transformation from the inside out. So, whether you're on your own journey or just curious on what's possible, you're in the right place. So, here's to eating better, thinking better, and living a phenomenal life. Let's go. So, why I said that I'm usually the host of this show, this episode is slightly different. I'm going to welcome in someone who's actually going to be the host of this episode to give me an opportunity to explore and share my own health journey and story. So, welcoming and introducing the host of the award winning SoCal Voices podcast, Angela Ross. Over to you. Thank you so much for being here and doing this with me.
Janie, I'm delighted to be with you today. This is just so exciting because I think both of us know that when we're hosting our shows, there's this element of control that you have, and when you are the guest, you don't have that control. So I just want you to feel at ease in your own space, and that I think this is going to be really a lot of fun and very enlightening and informative for your audience. So let's get to it. Okay. So I want to go back before there was a microphone. Who was Janie? What was she doing before Unfiltered, Eat Better, Think Better?
Yeah, I think I'm going to rewind it back to 2020 because that's really when sort of the change and the shift happened.
Hmm.
Before the mic, before Unfiltered, I was a lawyer practicing in the corporate world. And really, I got to a point where I just wasn't feeling good in my body, in my mind. I just wasn't feeling well. Particularly, actually, you're from California. There was this moment when we traveled to California in November 2019, and we were on this hike in Yosemite National Park. Beautiful place. And I
Oh, yeah.
remember doing this hike with my husband and my younger sister. And it was very challenging. It's not supposed to be that challenging. And I remember, seeing them, they were going off in front and they were fine. And I was really struggling. My legs felt so heavy. I was breathing. I had this negative attitude of, oh, just give up. Like, we'll just wait here. What's the point in doing all of this? And I remember stopping halfway, my husband coming, giving me like an orange and saying, look, just have this orange. You don't need to stop here. Keep going slowly, step by step. You can make it. And it was sitting in that moment, I just realized, oh my God, I cannot believe this is where I'm at. And this is how I'm feeling in my health and my body. Because before that, in school, everything, I was very sporty, very active. Never had this sort of attitude of, oh, I feel lethargic or I have no energy. And so after we finished that hike, you get to the top and then you're like, oh, I made it. Everything's amazing. You see the view and you forget everything. But luckily, the way down was exactly the same. And so when we were walking back down, we crossed that point where I had sat down and had to have that orange as a break. And then that was a reminder that, yeah, you made it to the top, but is that how you want to make it every time? With
Yeah.
that struggle, that horrible feeling, that negative attitude. And that's what got me thinking about something has to change. And luckily, in January of 2020, a program popped across the internet. I'm grateful that Google listens to my phone because it must have heard me complaining
I
and
was going to
said,
say, how did you get from that space to finding what you needed? Wow. Wow.
it was the algorithms, it was Google,
Yeah.
it was whatever. Anyways, they posted me an advert saying, hey, maybe you want to watch this masterclass. And I was like, okay, let's watch this masterclass. It was for a program called WildFed. And I just remember watching that thinking, you know what? I got to give this a shot. It's literally at this point, what have I got to lose? Let's just go in for it and see what happens. And it's 3 months. You were in between jobs. I just finished a job. I was looking for something else in the legal field. So I said, why not? And I did it. And
Sounds like it was truly transformational for you, and it is such a major change from what you were doing before to now do, what you're doing with your show. But I wonder, that was your personal journey to change your own situation. When did you move from I've done this, I see what it's changed in my life? How did you know it was time for you to share that message with others?
with others. I think for me, that 3 month program that I did taught me so much that I just realized all that information is not very available. So, for example, how important food is to your overall well being, from
Mm.
not just your mental health and your physical health, but even to your emotional wellness, right? The more you eat better, the better you think, the better you eat better, think better,
Of
is
course.
my brand, anyways, right? But
Yeah.
after I did that program, I learned so much information, and it was so natural to just think at that point, I have to share this with other people, because if I didn't know about this information of how transformative food can be, how transformative using your mind can be, then there must be other people who also don't know about it. And
Sure.
it felt like a natural transition to just go to, you know what, I'm going to coach this. And that's when I actually became a coach. I mean, this series only started in 2025, right? And we're speaking right now in 2026.
Mm-hmm.
So this series just developed through a whole other breakdown that I had, and that's when I decided to publicly share it in this way. But the first step was actually just becoming a coach, a Wild Fit coach. So that's a health and
Mm-hmm.
lifestyle program
Mm-hmm.
to be able to share the information that I had, the transformation that I had in my own health. And I think it's important for this particular series and the stories that we share here is that I went from a place of stress, overweight, burnout, having an autoimmune condition called Hashimoto's, the doctors say you're stuck with for life and can never be reversed,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
to moving to a place now where, yes, I dropped the weight, which is a wonderful side benefit, but to a place where I was waking up with energy, feeling happier and content on more days than less, to actually normalizing my thyroid function, which is the component of Hashimoto's and the autoimmune component. To me, that was mind-boggling. I was like, okay, why do not more people know about this? That if we can be intentional about our steps and make changes,
Mm-hmm.
you can seriously impact your health.
hmm So, being intentional is one of the main components then of being able to make this transition that you've made. But as you look at the Wild Fit program, as you look at all of the experience you went through, what are a couple of other major themes in terms of how you make the change? What are some practical things that you did, maybe just two or three things that really set you on this path to where you are now?
I love that question. I love that question. One of the first things that comes to mind is recognizing the emotional connection that
Mm,
we all as human beings have to food. It was the first time that I actually even delved into that space of listening to the voices in my head. All of us have voices in our head. And I didn't realize that until I was prompted to be like, hey, by the way, before you dive into those chips that you love eating or making that popcorn that you love, what if you pause for a second and listen to what's the conversation going on in your head? Why
mm,
is it that you want to be healthy, you want to be fit, and yet at the same time you want to eat chips, and that's those two don't go well hand in hand. And the moment you start to pause and listen to that back and forth of like, okay, but I just really want chips because they're so yummy. Are they really yummy? Like what if you slow down? But you're so full. Yeah, but chips, you can create a second stomach for chips. It's fine. Um, and I just really want it. It will make me feel better. Wow. Feel better? Really? That's when I started to tap in and recognize there's an emotional attachment, there's emotional connections to all these foods. And if we want to eat better in a way that is not restrictive, that is not, let me use this diet plan, let me use this willpower, and I will do it for 30 days, but move to a space where we can be willingly making healthy choices, we've got to listen into that. And once I started to listen into that, and then I recognized my personal attachment to chips was very much around family and love and connection, I
mm.
started to realize, okay, I've got to start filling in that space with something other than food. I've got to start finding joy in my life again. I've got to start reconnecting with family. And when you start doing these little bits, you notice, okay, the food craving is not as much. That's definitely one big one that came about, was recognizing that inner dialogue and that emotional relationship that we have to food. And it's completely natural and normal to have it. It's better to be aware of it than to just think, okay, there's something wrong with me, because there's
Hmm.
nothing wrong with you.
Hmm.
And then the second thing was just practically learning what real food is. My goodness, had I like I didn't realize, like just eating real food. When I say real food, I mean fruits and vegetables and
Whole
if you eat
food,
whole foods,
whole
right,
food.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Nothing that comes in a bottle in a packet
Hmm.
or is quick to make or is microwavable in a
Right.
sense, you know,
Not pretend food.
not pretend food. And it's shocking. It's actually really surprising that I've said this somewhere. I think I was on there was a thread and I commented on something saying eat real food. You'll be
Yeah.
surprised as to how many people either laughed at that comment or were saying, "What do you mean real
What do you
food?"
mean? Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And so again, that's another driver to say, hey, maybe we need to re-educate and
Hmm.
knowledge ourselves in a sense of what is real food, because think about it, with all the marketing, with all the information that's spitting out, that's very easy to just think, you know what, a burger from McDonald's is real food, because you're like, yeah, it's bread, I can see it, yeah, there's a patty, I can see it, yeah, there's chips, it's potatoes, that's real. It's very easy to be convinced that that's real food even though it's not.
Yeah, and it's certainly in certain quantities, it's just not very healthy for you. I mean, in the long run. And it is interesting that there is so much marketing and advertising associated with quote unquote pretend food. We don't
Yeah.
see the same level of intensity for advertising, say, oranges or,
Yeah.
brown rice
Yeah.
or it's very interesting how that dynamic all works. And so the work that you're doing is really critical because you're helping people make that shift from the information they're being bombarded with as to what they could be eating, and helping them make the connection between what they eat, how they feel, and that there is an alternative, and it's already in this universe for us. We just have to avail ourselves to it and understand how to pull it together for ourselves in a way that makes sense for our bodies. Janie, I wanted you to talk about a little bit more about why you're doing what you're doing now. You talked about launching your pivot point in 2020 and then really getting into Unfiltered in 2025. Yeah, a sense of urgency, obviously, to tell people about what you discovered for yourself and that people need to know. But what else is driving you? What is the why now for you in this journey?
Yeah. Ooh, the why now is really to let people know and give people hope
Mhm.
that you can feel better. No matter where you are, you're
Mhm.
not stuck. And it's never too late. If you feel like you're in a position that says, well, you know what, for 20 years I've suffered with this pain, or I've always been overweight, or I'm just not a morning person. I can't wake up early and therefore I lose half my day, or I just don't have energy. I want all of those people to know that there's hope and you can turn it around, and that it doesn't have to be difficult. It doesn't have to be traumatizing. It doesn't have to mean that you turn your whole life around in one day and everything is difficult. It's really not. I want people to understand that when we can be kind to ourselves and you can change this, you will feel better. And at the end of the day, like, don't we all just want to feel better and happier and just more content in what we're doing? I think if I may be wrong, someone can comment on this and let me know, but I think at the end of the day, baseline is we all just want to be happy, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel this is one avenue in which we can do that. And so I really want to support people because I've been on the other side where I was trapped in this world. I actually, to be honest, I didn't really know myself. That I'll be honest there. I was just living the life that is expected or supposed to be lived. You know, you grow up, you go to school, you go to university, you pick a career, you keep pushing at that career. And at the time, it sounds wonderful, it feels great, except when your body starts suffering. And I
Mm.
think that's what happened for me is when my body started suffering and my mind started suffering, then I got an opportunity to shift that. And so I want people to know that I've been there. And if you're there too, just know that there is another side that's there waiting for you. As long as you can apply a bit of curiosity and be like, okay, I'm curious, I want to know. And the more people we can have who are feeling better and thinking better, I feel the better a world we can have.
Yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful. That's really important. You know,
Yeah.
you touched on something, and I want to have you expand on it a little bit more. Talked about knowing yourself. And as you've embarked on this journey, Janie, I'd like for you to share, if you're willing, what has surprised you about you as you've gotten to know yourself better through this process, through this journey. You know, you talk about the expectations that others have, that society has for us, and we all kind of get on that treadmill. And first you do this, then you do this, then you do that. And through your pivot, through your discovery and your journey, what part of Janie has emerged that you didn't realize was there, but you see her now?
Yeah. Wow. That's such a beautiful question. And I feel like a question that is bringing tears to my eyes. And this was literally something I was talking about the other day is that, I feel like I am a different person, but there's a lot of times that the people around me, the ones who have known me for really long, don't see that new version. And
Mm,
it can be so difficult at times when you want to show up in the way that you are today, but you're being received in your old way. And so your intentions or your words or your actions are still being misinterpreted for who they thought you were. And so let me expand a little bit. The one who I was before was I was a very grumpy person. I was very moody. I was not very aware of my emotions or my internal dialogue. It was just very black and white of this is who I am. I was probably a very rash person as well, right? Like I was a if you came up to me, I would just be blunt to you, right? And that would probably be bluntness, not with the intention of making you feel bad, but just bluntness with no awareness of how that other person may be feeling, no empathy behind it, no
mm,
compassion behind
mhm,
it.
mhm,
And so there's that Janie, that lawyer face Janie, that Janie, right? That so many people, as I'm speaking this, if friends and family are listening, they will know exactly who I'm speaking about. And I feel that sort of over the years, I've shifted and I've developed and I've changed. I am now a lot more aware of my own internal state, of who I want to be, what I want to say yes to, what I want to say no to. That takes a lot of time.
yes, it
I'm
does.
also cultivating way more empathy. And again, it takes practice, right? For if for 30 years you've been one kind of way, then being able to naturally, act and come and speak with compassion and empathy can sometimes take a bit of time. But now I definitely know that I'm more aware of when I'm saying things, or I'm way better at listening and being there for people. And yeah, I feel that now I just want to be way more curious about people
Mm,
and their lives and just know, not for the sake of gaining something or needing something in return, but purely for the sake of curiosity. And I think with that, I've started to notice that I connect a lot better with people who are open to being curious, who are open to just having like random discussions, or who are doing new things in their life as well. They're not just stuck in the same old cycle
mhm,
that we were before. And so, yeah, that's kind of the new me that in itself is a challenging journey
yeah.
because you are moving and growing and becoming somebody different
Mhm,
that people may not recognize. And that's okay, right? There's no right or wrong here. There's no good or bad.
mhm,
It just it just is what it is. But I really hope that maybe sharing this message as well can let people open their mind and be curious as well. That when you see someone going through something or you see someone working on themselves, be open to the idea that this person may actually be different, may change. People can change. People can change. I've
Yeah.
changed. I've seen people change. They can. So on the receptive side of things, be open to the fact that this person might be different. When they come and speak to you, they're now actually speaking genuinely from the heart and not just saying stuff for the sake of saying stuff. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does. It does. And I think what you're saying about friends and family who may not recognize you or some
Yeah.
aspect of you that is different. People tend to put us in the box that is familiar and easy for them. And so when you change or you do something different, it's an adjustment for them too. And some are unwilling or unable to make that transition smoothly or at all. And at the end of the day, I think we just have to all be true to ourselves and to the extent that those can who can make the transition make it with you, great. To the extent they can't, well, they are going to be where they're going to be, and you're going to continue to move into the arena that you're moving into. So that's it. Um, Janie, before we get to the last question, I want to insert something here, and I want you to talk a little bit about deprivation, because I think what some people associate with eating better, thinking better, it's all about what I have to give up. It's all about what I can't have. It's all about the rules, the red line through the item on the list. Can you talk a little bit about that mindset and how that really isn't what this is, and how much more opens up when you don't limit yourself to thinking about, well, I just can't do this and I can't have that.
Yeah, I think that's a powerful question that so many people need to reframe on. Um, let's put it this way. When I I'm still a foodie, but when I was a junk foodie, let's call it that, I never thought that I would get to a place where I could just say no to chips or French fries, depending on who's listening, because that was my thing.
Mhm.
And there's certain shifts that take place. One is reframing our words, okay, and reframing what we look at. If
Mhm.
I asked you, for example, to look at my screen and notice what are all the spots in which you can see the color pink, right? So, like, just notice where everywhere on my screen you see pink.
Mhm.
And now I want you to tell me actually, where on my screen do you see the color blue?
Hmm. Do
And
you
you're
want me
like,
to
wait,
answer you for real? Or we're having a
I
rhetorical
was
discussion?
like, do you notice where it was blue, or were you only focused on the pink?
Hmm. I saw something. I actually see something.
You see something. All right. That's because you're like next level, Angela.
Okay.
um, but the idea is for anyone who's watching this, you will have probably been focusing on all the pinks, right? And so
Yes.
that's the only thing we see. The moment I ask
Hmm.
you to focus on something blue, you're like, wait, what? And
Yeah.
then now you're gonna start looking for blue and realize, oh wow, there is so much blue on the screen. I can see it in bits and places. And that's the exact same thing with food, right? We're so conditioned to only look at a particular thing that we block out and stop noticing all the other abundance around us. And
Mm.
so the reframe that I offer people is instead of looking at it as restriction or deprivation, right? Instead of focusing on everything that you cannot have, why not shift that focus to all the things you can have,
Mm.
all the abundance that is available to you, all the food that is available to you? And you will start to notice, wow, even in a month, do you think you'd be able to go through the entire list of plants and vegetables and fruits and spices and animal meats that are available to you? Probably not, right? Because there's over
Mm.
250 different varieties of things for you to pick from. So, one thing is let's focus on all the things that are available to you and the abundance that's out there. Ever since I made this shift, I don't feel deprived. I don't feel like, oh my God, I can't have anything. There is so much available. That's one thing. And the second thing is our language. The language that we use is so
Mm.
powerful. The
Mm.
moment you say, I can't have this, I shouldn't have this, I'm not allowed to have this, You are giving your power away. You're giving your power to somebody else to determine what you can and cannot have. As soon as you give your power away, your desire for that thing shoots up. It flies. And that's why it's so much harder when you try to go on a diet and you're told what you can and can't have. In your head, you're already thinking, I can't have this, which means you want it even more,
Yeah.
right? And so
Right.
now the second reframe that I offer you from now on, for the rest of your life, instead of ever saying, I can't have something or I'm not allowed, why don't you look at that thing? Recognize what's the reason behind which I don't want to have this. Well, I don't really want to have chips because one, they do not give me love. I will eat a plate of chips and then for 5 minutes, maybe I'll be happy, but then I'll be feeling crap about the oil, feeling bloated, and feeling all of that other stuff, right? So
Yeah.
recognize why it's maybe not a good idea to have that thing. And then two, say these words. Always say these words. Say, I choose to say no to XYZ.
Mm.
And I choose to feel great about it. Because then you're taking back your power. You're owning it. And I guarantee you, your desire for that thing will go down. It will really drop down because you're saying, yeah, you know what? I can have this if I want. It's available. I'm allowed to have it if I want to. But you know what? Today, I choose to say no
Hmm.
and I choose to feel great about it.
Yeah. Or I choose to eat less of this. Or I choose to, to pivot. And the other thing that's important in that is that the people around you support and understand that, and that sometimes you have to stand firm in your space against their well-meaningness because,
Yes.
oh, come on and have a little. I mean, like, I'm working on this. Why are you trying to make me eat? Sometimes you have to do that too. That's a very real
Yeah.
thing. The social, familial pressures to
Pressures. Yeah.
as you choose other things.
And I think on that point as well is also recognizing where that pressure may be coming from, right? Because
Hmm.
there's this psychological thing. When people see you doing well and you being able to be like, oh, wow, they said, how did that person say no to dessert? It's actually not about you, it's them. They
It's
feel
them.
like they feel bad. They're like, wait, why can't I do that? Let me
Yeah.
just convince that person to have it so that I feel better, you know?
Hmm.
And so yeah, sometimes just staying true to yourself and this is what I really like doing actually when I'm at events and stuff. Now I've said it so often people don't bother me about it, but when before it very initially when people were like, okay, would you like some dessert? Don't be like, oh no, it's okay. I really shouldn't. That you're opening an invitation for them to
Right.
convince you to have it, right? But if you just stand firm and just say, oh, no thanks, I don't do dessert, then
Hmm.
it's like you've closed the door
You shut it
and
down.
yeah, and then they're like, oh, okay, I guess you don't do that. And then they sort of
Hmm.
move on. So that's
Yeah.
another way.
Yeah.
And, when I do this with my clients a lot, is that when you have a particular person who does keep pressuring you, who keeps saying, no, please, just one bite. Oh my God, I really made this for you. Please have it. It's really okay to just be open and honest with them and say, hey, look, I'm really trying to work on this for myself. I'm doing this
Hmm.
thing, I'm doing a little experiment, and I just want to feel better. And so I'd be really grateful if you could please support me in that
Yes.
because I'm not going to have this.
Yeah.
And then if they really don't support you in that, question that relationship because
Sure.
then that's not somebody who really cares about you.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
and I just have to add the third little tip,
Yes.
which I
Sure.
focus on, which is mindful eating. And, mindful eating is not about saying no and I can't. It's just really being present and tapping into the idea behind which you want to eat something, the idea of eating slowly so that you do eat less, right? If you're going to have some dessert,
Mm.
it's okay. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just
Hmm.
saying, hey, be mindful of it, right? Are you satisfying your heart, your stomach, your brain? What are you satisfying? And how much of that do you really need in order to satisfy it? So the mindfulness component plays a big role as well, especially in the longevity of you creating this change for yourself.
Mm. So being intentional about everything is so critical here. That's what's really critical.
Yeah.
You know, um, I do want to ask you this last question. I know we talked about this a little bit, but you always do at the end of your shows. If healing had a voice, what would it be saying to you now?
Um, it's it's okay. That's what's coming. You know, I asked that question to all of my guests, and I'm like, "Oh, come on, it's an easy question." And you've just asked it to me, and I'm like, "Whoa, that's a question that requires reflection." But if I was to answer it right now, I would say it says it's okay. You're doing great. Just keep taking the next step forward, right? And thanking your past self, thanking your present self, and I think also being kind to your past self, because I think over all these years that I've been doing this work, recognizing things, working or healing on old patterns, it can be very easy to be very harsh on your past self or your younger self. And I think if healing had a voice, it would definitely be saying, be grateful for your old self, be grateful for your past self. It's all part of the journey. So, yeah, I think that's what it would say.
So you have a newfound respect for the struggle your guests go through when you ask them that question.
I'm thinking now maybe I'll just pre-prep them and let them know. By the way, this question is going to be coming, so if you want to think about it,
See,
but get the best answers when it's on the spot.
yeah, I think that you're right to ask it the way you do, uh, on the spot. Um,
Yeah.
I think you get a more honest
Mm,
response when you do that. This has been so enlightening for me just listening to you. I mean, I've listened to your show. I've been on your website. I've read your stuff, and it's really good. But there is something different about being able to just sit down with you and chat, and see your body language in responding, and hear your voice in a way that can only happen when you're looking at yourself through the eyes of someone else, and you're not in the mode of in that moment having to advise or counsel, but you can just spend some time with you. And I think that's a beautiful testimony going forward to everyone who will be touched by your gift, who you help along the way. It's just so enriching to speak to people like you who are putting out such goodness in the world. And I want to say thanks for giving me this opportunity to chat with you. And I do have one more question.
oh,
Your
okay.
two favorite fruits. I gotta know.
Why only
Inquiring minds want to
two?
know, what is Janie's favorite fruit?
Why only two? I gotta say lychee.
Okay, three.
All right, we'll see if we can narrow it. But
Okay.
lychees, people call them different way. I don't know if you've heard of them. Beautiful, delicious tropical fruit.
Yes.
And I say that now I'm reminded because they're in season right now.
Oh,
That would definitely be one.
okay.
Mango, for
Mm.
sure, when ripe and in season. And I'm gonna say watermelons. Because when it's hot, they're just so tasty and refreshing and
Yeah.
hydrating.
Yes, yes. Now, what is it about the mango that you love so much?
It's just sweet and it comes in
Mhm.
so many different forms. So,
Okay.
you can eat it and chew it.
Hmm.
You can mix it into a chia seed pudding. You can make ice lollies just with pure mango, right? Like nothing else added to it.
That is
And
divine.
then I use it as a way to make an alternative of an Indian dessert that we call kulfi. So kulfi is
Mm.
like this Indian sort of ice cream, but I use mango in that, mangoes and cashews, and then all the spices to make it. So yeah, and also when you get the mango, I forget which one it is, but you eat it with your hands and you just juice it and it gets so messy and wonderful, and it's a
Yeah.
massive seed inside, but it's just it's the best.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
it's good. They're good.
imagine this. I was never a fruit eater. So up until probably the age, yeah, again, until January 2020, when I started shifting the way I eat. Can you imagine? I just did not used to eat fruit at all.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing.
it's
Transformation
crazy.
is real, people. The transformation is real. I
It's
love
real.
hearing that. See that so whenever I eat these fruits again, I will think of you. This is wonderful. This is great.
Yay.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Angela, thank you so much for doing this with me. I really appreciate your time, your energy, your very thoughtful and insightful questions as well. I think we've uncovered a lot of beauty and wisdom and knowledge around this conversation. So thank you so much for doing this with me. And yes, until next time. So for everyone listening or watching, if this conversation has resonated with you, helped you, or made you feel seen, please be sure to hit subscribe so that you never miss an episode. And feel free to come join our Facebook community, Eat Better, Think Better. It's where these conversations continue and where you'll find real people walking the same path. And if you're ready to go deeper in your own journey, whether it's healing your relationship with food, shifting your mindset, or breaking free from beliefs that are holding you back, you will find more support, resources, and ways to work with me at www.eatbetterthinkbetter.com. So until next time, here's to eating better, thinking better, and living a phenomenal life. Let's go.